Dreams of Dust. This was my second anthology that I was a part of. It was really cool. I was with a small printing press, Treasure Ink Press. I actually found them on Facebook, so there are other ways to get published. If you want to do something small like this, connect on Facebook with someone and then an opportunity like this might arise. But I have my white noise on right now, a fan. It's like 95 degrees out. I wanted to read my little short story out of this for you all. There is an audiobook if you want to use that on Amazon. They had a great person do the audio, but I also wanted to read it because it means a lot to me. So I came up with this story just kind of on a whim. It's a POV flip, so there's two different points of view in this book. So it's called The Girl Who Never Sleeps. Here is the blurb. Have you ever wanted to live two lives? That way you could experience more and get a do-over? Well, this young girl was able to experience that and more, but it wasn't normal. Instead of sleeping, she would switch between lives. A constant back and forth that was normal for Missy was abnormal for everyone else. Once it was discovered she had two lives, things took a turn for the worst. Join Missy as she navigates her two lives and explores why it is that she doesn't sleep or dream. You might just be surprised by what she finds out. And then it's cool, it's got a little image there, which is a syringe, because this kind of is a medical story. Now, if you want, you can just close your eyes, lay your head back, listen to the fan, and listen to the story. Introduction. I started seeing a psychologist at the recommendation of my school and my mother making me about a month ago. Well, one of my mothers at one of my schools. I have one in this life and a different one in my other life. The mother in this life knows that I never sleep. The mother in my other life has no idea because I haven't told her. It doesn't seem relevant to that lifeline. This psychologist, like my mother, doesn't believe me when I say I don't sleep. He says that I must be an insomniac who has vivid dreams from the lack of sleep, where it causes me to lose touch with what my true reality is. I can talk until I'm red in the face, but neither him nor my mother believe me. My mother in this life is Sylvia. It's just me and her here. I go to an average school where I get straight A's, and I'm pretty much a loner. I prefer my other life, so I just get by in this one until I switch, which happens when I close my eyes at night. I mean, this is all I've known my whole life. I thought everyone had two lives until my school, Tanzer Junior High, called home saying I was spreading lies. It all started in my 7th grade biology class last month. Our class was learning about sleep cycles in animals and what occurs when animals sleep. A student asked if the animal dreams like we do. I raised my hand and asked what a dream was, which right away gave me the outcast status among my peers. They all stared at me confused. The teacher explained what dreams were and questioned me again if I'd ever had one. I said no because I don't sleep. When I go to bed, I wake up in my other life. I explained that I had two mothers, two schools, different sets of friends, and I lived in different places. She angrily told me to go to the office and sent a note with me where I got detention. I spoke with the principal and she told me to stop spreading lies and to think about the nonsense I made up during detention for the next 2 weeks. I was so frustrated she didn't believe me. I had never even heard of dreams or what this new type of sleep was. My mom was called into the office that afternoon where I told her the same thing. I told my teacher and my principal. I didn't sleep that way. I was either in this life or my other life. Let's just say my mother was confused, didn't believe me, and had me booked for a session with a psychologist by next week. I admit at first I was a little worried, but I just shrugged it off. I didn't like this life that much anyways. I'm called Lila in this life. In my other life, I'm named Missy, which I love. I wish I could just stay there all the time, but no matter what I do, I switch lives. Once I go to bed, I switch. I just thought it was normal. I went to bed that night and woke up as Missy in Sunny Grove, Texas with my mother and father, Therese and James. I have no siblings in this life nor my other one, but here it was warm, sunny, and I had a full family that never fought and was full of love. I am in 7th grade in both timelines. Here I went to Oaks Junior High. I have lots of friends who I slept over with all the time. Sleepovers are a favorite. I decided as Missy to not mention my other life, like when I'm Lila. I don't want to mess up both my lives. This time when we talked about dreams in class, I just went along and didn't ask any questions. I fit in there. I loved it. The only thing I have in this life that's a little odd are the sensations that would occur in my hands and hair. Sometimes when I was doing nothing or just sitting in class, I would feel like something was stroking my hand or like wind was blowing through my hair. Once I recall, I even felt a tingling sensation on my cheek. Once again, I didn't say anything for fear of being punished. That's one good thing about this magical thing only I seem to experience. I get to redo my days. I got to spend Tuesday, May 15th as Lila in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And today, I got to redo the day on Tuesday, May 15th in Sunny Grove, Texas. The days aren't exact in each life. The food in my Missy life is better. I get to do sports here and I have tons of friends. In my Lila life, we get to learn more advanced subjects and classes, which is about the only thing I enjoy here. Now this is from Lila's perspective. I was sad to get up as Lila today. The last 2 weeks have been annoying and confusing. The psychologist thinks I've been lying about not dreaming and sleeping. I don't believe them and they don't believe me. In the back of my mind, I feel like maybe they are right. Still, when I really sit down and think about how my days go, it just doesn't make any sense. There's no time for it. The doctor suggested that my mother put me on medication to help me dream and sleep. But thankfully she denied that because the effects of the drug can stunt my growth, and she didn't want it to hurt my body in that way. I was already the shortest in my class, and that would have just been torture to be stuck like that. So instead of drugs, the doctor suggested a different method. He told my mom to buy a camera to set up in my room to record me while I slept to prove that I did in fact sleep. She agreed. We went to the local hardware store, Tooley's, and picked up a night vision camera that had night vision so it could see me if I slept. My mom says she's seen me sleep, but again, I just don't believe her. She set it up last night and we brought it with us today for my appointment. I'm curious but also scared of what we are going to see. The psychologist pulled over his laptop from the table that was right next to him and plugged in the side of the camera to it. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. He turned the laptop towards us and pressed play as he stood up to come behind us and watch as well. We watched as I laid down and covered myself with the sheets. I couldn't believe what I saw. I was sleeping. I was staying there in bed, tossing and turning in my sleep. I didn't disappear into my Missy life. The psychologist pressed the speed button to make it go faster, and we watched the whole 8 hours that was on camera. My mom came in a couple of times in the camera, bringing with it a sliver of light that showed I was still in my bed. I was still in this world. For the entire 8 hours. I even mumbled in my sleep. I couldn't believe it. Then my Lila mom, Sylvia, came in at 6 a.m. to wake me up. I was still Lila, which didn't make any sense because I was Missy yesterday. Not Lila. I switched lives. Why isn't it showing it? My head was spinning. I was so confused. Why is all of this happening? My lives were so normal until all of this started up. Why did we have to learn about dreams? I put my head in my hands and tried to shut my eyes, making me switch to Missy. I didn't want to be Lila anymore. How do I stop switching? The psychologist shut the laptop and went and sat down in front of us. Mom grabbed my hand and started caressing it gently and lightly, rubbing my back. That always helped a little, but it didn't do much today. Well, Lila, the psychologist said, what do you think? The tape showed you sleeping. It showed that you stayed in your bed the whole night and your mom came and woke you up. I looked up at him. I can't explain it. I thought I didn't sleep. When I go to bed at night and shut my eyes, I wake up in another life. I've told you and Mom this over and over. The tape confuses me, but it does show something different than what I experience. When that tape showed I was sleeping, I was in another life. I lived an entire day as the other me, Missy. I swear I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. I started screaming and crying, wishing that this would all just go away. I shouted, Mom, I am telling the truth. I shouted, I don't know what's happening to me. My mom held me and tried to calm me down, but it didn't help. I tried getting away from her. I wanted to run away. I wanted to go to my bed and shut my eyes and be Missy already. I finally pushed her away and headed towards the door to run home when I felt something sharp poke me in my neck. I felt a prickling hot sensation run all the way down my spine and through my body. Slowly, the world began to move underneath my feet. I closed my eyes. Now we're waking up as Missy. I open my eyes, gasping for air, and fall out of bed. I look around in a panic. I'm in my purple and green bedroom. I'm in my Missy life. Thank goodness. I slowly crawl up off the floor and dig my toes into plush green bedroom carpet. It slowly calms me down. I've decided that I'm not going to go to my Lila life anymore. I'm never going to shut my eyes at night again. I will stay up forever. I can't go back there. I'll do whatever it takes. I get up and grab my clothes to go take a shower. I was drenched from sweating as Lila. It must have been whatever they injected in me. After I jumped out of the shower, I headed downstairs to have breakfast with my favorite mom and dad, Therese and James. "You okay, honey? You look a little pale." "And I thought I heard you fall out of your bed this morning." My mom stroked my hair gently. Even after she stopped to hear my response to her question, it still felt as though she was rubbing my hair. It was a nice feeling. "Yeah, I just got out of bed clumsily, I guess." I hugged her and sat back down to eat my breakfast. My stomach felt a little off, but maybe it's because of that injection. Although I've never had anything transfer lives before, so maybe it's just a weird morning for me. I got on the bus and went to school like every normal day. My school here is St. Thomas for girls. We have matching pantsuit uniforms that we have to wear every day that are in all black. I like it because I never have to try and figure out what to wear. I'm under enough stress these days. I get to class and sit down, drumming my thumbs somewhat anxiously for what we'll be learning today. I hope it's not dreams. The teacher begins talking about the cycle of birth. I sigh with relief. No dream talk this morning. Now to get through the rest of the day. By the end of 8th period, I was finally feeling at peace. This day was going to be normal, and I won't ever close my eyes long enough to become Lila again. I'll be Missy forever, no matter what it takes. The school bell rings to signal the end of the day. I get up, gather my things, and head out the door to go meet my friend Jessie at my locker. She's one of my best friends here. We meet at my locker in the morning, and at the end of the day this year, since we meet at my locker in the morning, and at the end of the day, since we aren't in the same classes this time. "Hey Jessie," I said as I approached my locker. "Hey Missy, oh my gosh, how crazy was that sex education talk in Miss Wilkinson's class today? All of us got in trouble for laughing and kept flinging condoms across the room at each other." I giggled as I set my books inside my long blue locker. I have a small mirror in the door of the locker along with stickers from our favorite show, Tyke's Grand Adventures. It's Jessie and I's favorite show about this guy that takes classes of kids on field trips, and they get to travel to all these cool places and learn about survival skills in nature. We've put our school's name on the show's website so many times we've lost count, but we haven't been chosen yet for an adventure. We figure if we keep applying every day, we'll get picked by the end of the school year. We have 11 months to go until the school year is over, so we have a pretty good chance. I'm so jealous. My class is so boring. Everyone just sat and listened and didn't make a sound. When she handed us condoms, I giggled a little bit, but Cynthia, who was sitting right next to me, gave me a nasty look. She's such a teacher's pet. I rolled my eyes and grabbed the edge of my locker to shut it, but before I could, I saw something in the mirror in my locker. I did a second take. There was nothing but me staring back at me in the mirror, but I could have sworn I saw a nurse in it behind me at first. Must still be trauma from my Lila life. I shut the locker door and walked with Jessie out to the school bus. We took a seat next to each other and gossiped about boys and our favorite show the rest of the way home. My stop is before Jessie, so I gave her a hug goodbye and told her I'd see her tomorrow. I got to the front of the bus and readjusted my backpack. I slowly stepped down the stairs and fell face first out of the bus. My feet went numb. I couldn't feel either of my feet all of a sudden. I fell out of the bus and onto the pavement, skinning my arms and knees. The bus driver took his seatbelt off and jumped down the stairs to make sure I was alright. Jessie was right behind him. I started tearing up from embarrassment and pain. He helped me up and asked if I needed help walking to my front door. I shook my head. "No, thank you, sir. Jessie, can you help me? I was just being clumsy." I quietly replied as I sniffled. My feet were still super tingly like they were just asleep, but I had enough feeling in them to walk slowly to the porch with Jessie's help. The bus driver pulled away once we got to the porch. Tears were slowly rolling down my cheek. "Are you okay, Missy? That was so crazy. I've never seen you be that clumsy." We got to the porch and sat down on the first step. I wiped my forearms on my shorts to get the dirt off and started massaging my feet. "Jessie, my feet went numb. I couldn't feel them all of a sudden. It was terrifying." She gave me a hug. "I can stay with you until your mom gets home. She'll know what to do when we tell her what happened. Are your feet better now?" I poked my feet, nodded my head. "Yeah, they're almost back to normal now. I don't know what happened. I don't want to worry my mom though, so let's just not say anything to her for now." Jessie shook her head and said we should still tell my mom, but I told her no. I don't want to talk to any more doctors for a while. The one I dealt with in my Lila life was enough for a lifetime. It was probably just from that drug they injected in me that made my feet go like that. It had to be. Jessie stayed with me until my mom got home, and thankfully she didn't say anything to her. After she left, Mom started getting dinner ready for when Dad gets home. "How was your day, sweetheart?" she said as she shuffled around the pasta steaming in the strainer. "It was spaghetti night." "It was good," I lied. "Well, good, I'm glad to hear it." She smiled at me after she talked and continued making dinner. I got up and set the table. When I laid the last plate down is when Dad walked in. I love greeting my dad when he gets home. "Dad!" I ran happily to him and was about to give him a big hug when that feeling hit me again. This time it was worse. My feet went numb and I felt a tug, like someone just tugged on both my feet and pulled them down past the floor. Then I felt a sharp pinch in the back of my neck. The pain was so intense it caused my vision to blur. I fell on the floor while shouting and crying and holding the back of my neck. Mom dropped the pan she had in her hand and came running in to help me. Dad rolled me on my back and was asking me what was wrong. It was so hard to see. Suddenly it all stopped again. I could feel the tingling back in my feet like last time. Only this time they felt like tingly boulders attached to my legs. My neck felt completely normal again. "What is happening to me?" I quietly say out loud as tears run down my cheeks. My mom and dad hug me and start talking to each other about taking me to the hospital. I begged them not to take me, but I eventually gave in. My dad carried me out to the car while I continued crying. After 10 minutes, we arrived at the hospital. I had stopped crying at this point. I walked in holding my mom and dad's hand. The nurses showed me to a room while they started doing tests. It was 10 p.m. by the time the nurses did their tests and the doctor talked to us. By the time the nurses had been done with their tests and we had talked to the doctor, it was 10 p.m. I was exhausted, but I was determined not to shut my eyes so that I didn't become Lila. Even after this experience, I refused to go back to being her. Finally, after a bit, the doctors came in. "Well, her results all seem fine. All her levels are normal and she doesn't seem to have any pain currently. That being said, I would like to keep her overnight just to watch her and to run some more tests. I want to order a brain scan so that we can see if there's some abnormal activity going on or to see if this was just some sort of panic attack. I'll have the nurse show you all to your room shortly." The doctor walked out. I twiddled my thumbs nervously. I've never had a brain scan before. I was a little scared of it. "Do brain scans hurt?" I asked my dad. "No, honey, they're completely harmless," he said back to me. He gave me another hug. Again, I felt like wind was blowing through my hair, but that wasn't anything abnormal. They took me out of the exam room and led us down the hallway to where the testing was going to happen. The testing room was huge. The nurse had my dad wait outside of the room where I could still see him through the room's windows. They put me in the machine to get the brain scan. It was a big circular tube where the inside of it almost touched my nose because it was such a tight fit after they locked me in. I had to shut my eyes to handle it. It was so scary. I heard a whirring as the machine must have started up. Suddenly I felt a strong pull in my head. I felt like someone was trying to pull my head off by pulling on my neck. I started screaming. I couldn't open my eyes. Darkness was all I saw. Now we're back at Lila. Everything went quiet. I sat up fast, breathing heavily, and opened my eyes. I expected to hit my head on the machine, but instead I didn't. I was in my room. My Lila life room. Ugh, how did this happen? There's no way I could have fallen asleep in that machine. It was so painful. I do not want to be back there. My mother knocks on the door and comes in. Sylvia looks tired. "Hi, sweetie, how'd you sleep?" I rolled my eyes. "I didn't, you know that. Or did you tape me in my sleep today again to go over with the psychologist?" She looked down at her hands. "Listen, Lila, I kept watching over you last night, but I didn't tape you again. You were sleeping in the bed as you are every night. You were tossing and turning like you were having a bad dream, but you wouldn't wake up when I shook you. I tried everything to get you to wake up. I put a cool washcloth on your face, shook you, picked you up. Nothing worked. It was terrifying. Then you started screaming, so I ran to call the doctor. That's when I came back in and you were awake." I stood up and walked towards her. "What do you mean you called the doctor? You called me my psychologist?" I folded my arms. She looked down again. "Yes, they are sending a specialist to come pick you up. They want to make sure you are okay, but in order to do that, they have to watch over you while you sleep and run some tests. They are going to take you to their sleep clinic where you'll be there for the next week." My heart dropped. "What?" I screamed. I pushed her aside and ran towards the door. I was going to run away. I was going to figure out a way to never come back here. I reached the hallway and turned the corner. A large man was standing there all in white. "She's running!" I heard my mom scream. Before I could turn back towards my room, the man grabbed me roughly on the arm. I tried to shake his grip, but he was too strong. He started dragging me towards the door to go outside. I couldn't believe this. I couldn't believe my mom agreed to this. She's a monster. My other mom, Therese, would never do this to me. I haven't done anything wrong. I just don't dream. "Mom," I screamed. "Mom, how could you let him take me? Help me, he's hurting me." I screamed in between sobs. I felt like I was choking on air trying to catch my breath between all the screaming and crying. At this point, I wasn't on my feet anymore. The large man in white had adjusted his grip and was dragging me by my shoulders with both arms. My heels were grazing the carpet down the hallway. I flailed and tried to regain my footing so I could try and push off in the other direction, but to no avail. I attempted to headbutt him by throwing my head back, but he was much too tall for that. When I tried to headbutt him, it felt like it bounced off a padded wall, which was only on his stomach. My heels popped over the entryway out of the door and down the sidewalk. My heels were scraping off on the pavement. I couldn't see where he was taking me. "Mom," I screamed with all my might. She was standing in the doorway staring at me. Tears were streaming down her face. The man pulled me sideways and positioned me so I was facing this white van. I put my feet up on the back doors where he was trying to shove me. I was pushing myself away from the van with all my might. "Varl," I heard him yell, "help me out here. This kid's a nightmare." Another man came from around the side of the van. He was holding a syringe. "No," I screamed, "no." I fought as hard as I could to get away. I was not going to be injected with that stuff again. The large man grabbed me in a bear hug and forced my head down into his shoulder, exposing my neck. I felt a stab in my upper spine and darkness came again. Chapter called Who Am I? My eyes felt impossibly heavy. Who am I now? I hope it's Missy. I hear a distant beeping in the distance. It's steady and it's constant. My body feels like rocks. Why can't I move? I try to wiggle my toes. Nothing. I try to move my arms. Nothing. A minute goes by. Suddenly my feet start tingling. It's the same sensation I feel when I'm Missy after my feet go numb. I must be Missy. I relax a little bit. I'm safe. The tingling went away. I wiggle my toes. They're moving. My body still feels extremely heavy, but at least I'm feeling again. I wonder if it was that brain scan that did this. I hear someone shout, "Baby, her toes are wiggling. I think she's going to wake up. Come here, I'll press the call button for the nurse to come in." The treatment worked. The voice sounded like my dad. It's James. Why is he talking like that to Mom? What treatment are they talking about? I try to speak, but only a mumble comes out. I feel a soft tussle in my hair. It was the same sensation I get when I'm Missy. That feeling that a soft breeze is caressing my hair. This time it felt different though. It felt more solid. I could actually feel fingers running gently through my hair. "Baby girl, it's okay, Mama's here." I felt a kiss on my forehead and a hug. I groan again. Why can't I talk? This is weird. "Nurse Polly, she's awake. She's finally awake. Tell Dr. Trigger the treatment worked. She's back with us." Okay, this is too weird. What is my dad talking about? I've got to open my eyes. I fight with all my power to get my eyelids to move open. Success. At first, I only saw a little bit of light from the bottom of my eyes. It gets easier as my eyelids slowly slide open. Everything's blurry. Odd. I blink a few times and can see a little better. I turn my head slowly to the right and see my dad. He's crying. I look back left and see my mom crying as well. I want to reach out to them, but my arms won't move much. I can only get them to wiggle a bit when I try. "Sweetie, do you know what happened? Do you know where you are?" my mom asked me. A nurse came up to me. She started checking my vitals. I must have really not handled that brain scan well. I croaked again, trying to talk. My throat is so dry and a bit sore, like I haven't spoken in years. I managed to mumble out, "I was getting a brain scan, right?" Mom looked at Dad a little concerned. Dad grabbed my hand. "Sweetie, we were in a car accident 6 months ago." He starts crying again. "Your sister, she didn't make it. You almost didn't. To save you, we had to put you in a lucid state coma. It was a dreamlike state to keep you alive while we let your body heal. It was only supposed to be for a week, but you never woke up. We did everything we could to get you to wake up, but you just wouldn't." He squeezed my hand. Try to sit up, but I can't find the strength to. I start to panic. Her heart rate's increasing. "Dear, try to breathe and remain calm. I'll go get some morphine to calm you down. Your body's probably in shock," I heard the nurse say. I take a good look at her face. It was Lila, my mother Sylvia. What is going on? I lift up my head slightly, but the pain in my neck was too severe. "Darling, stop trying to move. It's okay. The doctors have been trying a new treatment. They've been doing neck stretches, feet movements, and injecting a new drug into your spine. We started treatments last week, and now you've woken up and come back to us." Well, that would explain what I was feeling as Missy, if what she's saying is true. "Who's my sister?" I looked up at her, wondering what she was going to say. "Lila," she whispered. My breathing started increasing again. "We know you're confused, Missy. They said that would happen. The dream state isn't supposed to last this long." "I was dreaming," I said out loud. "Yes, dear, you've been dreaming for 6 months. We've been monitoring your brain activity." My head started to spin. No way is this real. Have my 2 lives been a dream? Am I able to dream? Do I only have 1 life? My breathing increases again. It's getting shorter. Nurse Polly, who I knew as Sylvia, walked in with a large man all dressed in white. Behind him was a man that looked like the Varl I had met. He had a syringe. My mother lifted my head up, exposing my neck. I tried to move my body so I could get away. I didn't want this. This isn't real. Honey, stay calm, okay? This is going to help you relax, my mom said. It's no use. I had no strength to fight it. I felt a sharp pain. Darkness overcame me again. I opened my eyes. I was in a white padded room, no longer a hospital. I shut my eyes again. I was in my Lila room. I shut my eyes once more. I was back in the hospital. I was flickering through each life in seconds. Another sharp pain hit me in my neck. Darkness became a cycle. My breathing was slowing down, and I was beginning to feel numb all over. Heaviness was overtaking me more than I've ever felt. I was relaxed. I felt at peace. Darkness took me over. Darkness was all I saw forever. My sleep finally came at last. The beeping in the hospital hit a constant tone. Everyone in the room went silent. Missy had passed on. The treatment failed. I hope you enjoyed that. When I sent this, they were supposed to send it to the editors, and there were a lot of things that weren't done, but it happens sometimes. But I hope you enjoyed this story, and I hope that you check out my other books, because I love endings like this.